What's poppin', y'all? It's Colonel Tommy with episode 4 on my journey from Scrub to God tier programmer. Today we're going to be doing the Camel Case problem on HackerRank. And if you haven't already, please follow me on Twitch. I'm planning on streaming more often, either just playing games to hang out with people, or I'm planning on doing coding streams where I just work on problems on HackerRank rather than so you can follow me along on there rather than just sitting through and watching me explain the problems on YouTube. But anyways, let's get to it. All right, let's get on to Camel Case. Now this, I'm just going to warn you for this one. This one is actually pretty difficult for it being like one of the first few problems. It's mostly tedious, but it can get confusing real fast if you don't keep it organized. All right. So, this one's Camel Case. Camel Case naming style common in many programming languages. In Java, method and variable names typically start with a lowercase, with all subsequent words starting with the capital letter. Example, start thread. As you can see, the lowercase s and the capital T. Names of classes follow the same pattern, except that they start with a capital letter. Example, blue card. So yeah, now like the classes have each word is capitalized, the first letter. All right, so your task in this program is to write a program that creates this and splits camel case variable, method, and class names. All right, so this took me a little bit to comprehend what kind of input we're getting. So basically, each line of the input file will begin with an operation S or C, followed by a semicolon, followed by M, C, or V, followed by a semicolon, followed by the words you will need to operate on. All right, let me just skip all that and because it's really hard to just figure out based off that. So I'm gonna make it real simple. So each of these are separated by the semicolon, right? So S, so in the first column here, S is meant to stand for split. And then the second column is another operation you're supposed to perform. And it's supposed to be meaning that, or not operation really. It's meaning that, so it's got an M. This means this one's going to be a method. And then the next, after the next semicolon, is plastic cup followed by parentheses. As you can see, this is a method. So for this one, it wants you to split is what the first one's telling you, and the second one's telling you its method, and then it tells you and then gives you what's here. So what it wants you to do is split this up for each word. So it wants you to separate plastic and cup into two words, and see at the bottom for the sample output, this is what it's supposed to look like. So it's separated into two words, and it made every one of them lowercase words and got rid of the parentheses for the method. So, and that's kind of the same deal for the rest of them, but different. There's two different operations, and the next one I can show you is the other one, which is combined. So, and then V stands for variable, so meaning that this one's going to be a variable name, and then the next part is what they give you, which is mobile phone. So for this operation, they want you to combine the two words and they want you to turn it into a variable name. So that, as you can see at the sample output, I probably need to scroll down a little bit. All right, so the mobile phone is the output. As you can see, now it's like if it was a variable, which would be the first word, first letter is lowercase, and the second word, first letter is capitalized. All right, and then for so it's just like that for all of them pretty much. So coffee machine, this one's gonna be a class. So it wants you to combine the two words to make it into a class. So if you can see, look down at the output, you got coffee machine. So the first word, first letter is capitalized. Second word, first letter is capitalized. All right, and that's basically it. It wants you to take. So this whole thing is your input. So it's pretty much like you're reading from a file, and you got all these lines that you have to read. So you have to use a scanner to read each of these lines and then perform all these operations on these words to get this output. All right, so let's get started coding, shall we? All right, let me give myself a lot of space here so that way you guys can see this pretty easily. And double make sure you guys can see this good. All right, so first things first, we have to use a scanner. What a scanner is used for is usually reading from um you can either read it from like a file, or you can use it to read from like a user's input. And we're reading from what from the input this time, but not our input, their input. So we need to create a scanner variable. So then just do scanner, and you gotta do new scanner, and it wants you, as you can see, it wants you to read from the system input. So you're gonna do system dot in. That's what that means. All right. Now, we're just gonna be, as you can see, it says to print out. So for all our outputs, we're gonna do system dot out dot print like that. Or this prints on the same line, this prints on the new line. You'll see. But anyways, so there's going to be multiple lines that we have to read. So we have to keep reading each of these lines, and for each line we perform the operations it wants us to do. So how we're going to do this is, that means since we got to do multiple times, we got to use a loop to loop through each of these operations. So we're going to do, and we need to do it while there's still input for us to read. So how we do that is we gotta do while scanner dot has next line. And what that does is it checks while the scanner has another line to read. If it does have another line to read, it'll keep looping. If there's nothing else to read, then like it checks the next line. If there's something there, then we're good to keep going. If there isn't, then it cuts the loop right there. All right, so now we need to get that first line of input. So how we're gonna do that is, first we're gonna assign a variable the um, variable for it to be in. So I'm gonna call it user input, and we're gonna set it equal to scanner dot next line. Oops. So what that does is that takes in the first, the scanner gets the first line, and you save that into the variable user input. So now we have, say, like the first input was SM plastic cup. We have that line saved to user input now. So like, how do we even begin getting? How do we know? How can we make this so we can check it if we're splitting or combining? How do we handle methods? Like, so we need to separate this um, line, the string, so we can tell what kind of operation we're doing what we're operating on, and then also get the string that we need to change. So first, how we're going to do this, we're going to split the string, literally. So we're going to make a string array. That's how we make an array. And then we're going to call it split string. And we're going to set it to user input dot split. Now what this does is there's a split method for strings, and we're going to set it to, there's two inputs. So we can just do string, and we're just going to set it to just the semicolon. We're going to do space, and then we're going to put a 0. All right. Now what those parameters mean is, and what this method is going to do with those, is it's going to split the string for every semicolon in this user input. It's going to split all strings up by the semicolons. So, and then it's going to assign each of those new strings to the array. So it's going to fill the array with all these strings it splits into. So now split string is going to have, like, say if it was the first input here, it would have S as in the first position, M in the second position, and then our method that gives us in the third position. So now we have it split. So now we can see which is which. So now that we have that, first we need to check the first part, which is, are we splitting this variable? Are we splitting this input, or are we combining this input? So we need to check if split string. Now this is the first position. So the 0 index. So that would be the S if we're going off the first input. And we're going to do dot equals. And then we're going to check for, so this, you can't compare two strings like this, just to start off the bat. That's a common mistake new people make. So don't do that. You have to use the method string has to compare them, which is dot equals. If I can spell. All right. All right. So we're going to check if the first position in our split string is an S, which if it were going to first input, it would be true. So now, inside here, we're going to be putting in our splitting, we'll call it our splitting algorithm. All right. So, how about we do an else, though? Because there's going to be two different operations here. We need to check if split string 0 dot equals, the other one's C. Yeah. All right. So now we did an else if. So if it's not S and it's a C, we're going to be doing the combine algorithm. All right. So now we have our differentiation between split and combine. So the way I did this first, before I even started like working on any of these, is I split it up So I knew which part was which and what I needed to do in each one of them. So we got the split and combine. So let's move on to the next column, and we're going to check if split string. We're checking the second position, and that's going to have the M, V, or C. So we need to check equals, and we're going to do, let's do variable first. And I'm just going to comment here because this is going to get real crazy real fast. So we're going to do split variable. So now this spot's going to be reserved for specifically splitting a variable. Now we're going to do another else if, except this time is going to be still same thing, first position. Just start it. Wait, can I type right now? That equals. This time is going to be the method. This spot is going to be for split method. And then one more else if split string when dot equals. This one's gonna be class, which is C. Now this one's gonna be split class. Alright, so now I'm gonna copy and paste this because it's gonna be literally the same thing. So this one we're checking for splitting. This one we're gonna be need to checking for combining. But we gotta check it for both splitting and combining. So I'm gonna copy and paste the same else if statement, all this whole if statement pretty much. So now let me separate it so it doesn't look so jumbled. Alright, so now this one's gonna be combined. So it's gonna be for combine variable, combine method, and combine class. So let me just give an example here. So like example, so the input is gonna equal, say like, so this one's gonna be S. Now S, and then we're gonna do V. So SV. The other one, the one we got is picture frame. And then we want the out to be it's just gonna be picture frame. Of course, without the quotation marks. That's just like, this is gonna be this whole thing in the quotation marks. So this would be your like example input, the SV picture frame, and then that's gonna be your output. All right. So let's do another one. For this one's gonna be split method, and the one we have given to us is gonna be plastic cup. All right, and then out's gonna equal plastic cup. All right, and then for class, we're gonna do. Let's just, if you're like doing this on your own, this will just make it so much easier so you can tell like what you need to actually change in your variable. So You don't have to go back checking back and forth what it's gonna look like kind of deal. And it's just all like right in front of you. At least it helped me at least. So we're gonna be splitting, which this one's gonna be a class, and then what's the one they give us? Split. Why do I not? Oh, split class is the large software book, and then the out is gonna be large, all lowercase actually, large software book. All right, and then let's just start with that for now, and then We'll do the other ones for once we get to them. So let's start with we're gonna be splitting a variable. Yeah, it's kind of nice seeing that right there, so I know exactly what I need to do in this if statement. So, all right. So we get this variable picture frame. Now, the thing is, it's not all going to be just like this. It could be, see how it's only 2 words? It could be 3 words, 4 words, 5 words. It could be more, even though that's not normal. That's not common in programming to have a bunch of words for your variable and method names. But it could potentially be more, like this one's 3 words. So we have to somehow go through this this string. So we actually already have this. We have picture frame saved, and it's going to be split string in the second position. So we actually already have that. Um, so we just need to somehow be able to split this one into 2 words like this, and then we also need to lowercase um, each word after the first word. Make sure everything's in lowercase. So, how do we begin doing that? So what we need to do is, like I said, we need to split it. We need to split it again. So actually, we're gonna make another string array, and then call this one variable split. So like the split up variable, and then we're gonna set this equal to split string, and then this one's gonna have, we're gonna be in the second index, so the third spot, and we're gonna split this one again. Not split. And how we're gonna split this one is actually something I'm not like super familiar with, but this one makes it super easy. So let me, before I talk about that, let me go back to this one. So you remember we used the split method on this one, right? And we split it by just the semicolon. But we need to be able to split it by multiple letters. Like, and not just any letters. If you notice, each one of these, we're going to be splitting um, our like spot to split the words up is going to be the uppercase letter. But we can't say just normal. If I just put like C in here, like right here, if I just split C, that's only ever going to split it if there's a capital C in it. But that won't work if the word is like capital A or like any other letter in the alphabet. So we need to somehow split it for any capital letter in the alphabet. But you can't do that just by like putting one letter like this. So there's these things called regular expressions, and you will have to look up yourself to become more familiar with these. But here's the one I used to get this to function correctly. Let me write it and then I'll kind of explain it. Okay, so basically what this does, it kind of conditionalizes this um, a string right here. So basically with the question mark is saying that the result can be anything between capital letter A to Z, capital letter Z. So this in turn gives us the ability to split this string up with by either capital A, capital B, capital C, all the way to Z. So we'll split it whether if it's capital A or if it's capital Z. It'll split the string up by any capital letter that it comes across. And that's all you need to do. Um, and this time I didn't include a number. It actually doesn't matter. So this, I just wanted to show you that you can put it like this. If I put it like a 2 in here, it would only do it for 2 instances of capital letters. Like a third capital letter, it wouldn't split anymore. So, but if you don't put anything, or if you put 0, it'll split it for all capital letters it comes across. All right? So now we got something to work with here. So now this is what our string looks like now. So it actually has, say we got in our 0 position of our variable split, we have um, picture, and then in the second spot, first index, we have frame. So now we are really close to being able to just print these together, and then we got our output correct. However, we need to lowercase this f. All right. So I'm just gonna leave that there as a reference for right now. So we need to lowercase that f, or whatever word is in there. But we need to do it. We can't just think. We gotta think greater than that. What if this was 3 words and like I don't know. I'm just gonna say like 2 here or toe whatever. Um, it doesn't matter. But say there was 3 words here. So like we gotta do it for every single letter. And we got a lowercase. All right. So we're gonna be doing this multiple times. So we're gonna need another loop, right? So we need to loop through all these words that we split. All right, I'm gonna erase it just so it doesn't start getting too busy on my screen. That's even it already is, but you know what I mean. All right, so we're gonna do a for loop here. We're gonna do int I equals 0. Start from 0, while I is less than variable split, and then this one is dot length for the number of items in the array, and then I plus plus. All right. So in this for loop, we are going to do if. So we're going to take care of 2 things here. We're actually going to print this out, and we're going to lowercase it at the same time, all in one go. So we're going to do system.out.print, and we're going to do variable split, and then it's going to be at index I for the loop, and then we're going to do to lowercase. We're going to use that method. And then we're going to do plus, we're going to add a space. Now, as you can see, what to lowercase does is it takes whatever string you are doing the method on. So like, say this was the first position, so it would be picture. Since picture is already lowercase, it's just going to be lowercase. It won't change at all, which is fine. But say it was in the second or the first index or the second position where frame was, it's going to lowercase the whole word, so it will be lowercase frame now. And then we're using print. Okay, there's two different prints that are important here. Print prints on the same line. So say I'm looping through this and I'm printing out each one, it's going to print each word on the same line. If I did print line, like say, let me just type it out. So picture, so if I was doing just regular print, it would print out printer frame, picture frame. If I was doing print line like it is right now, it'd be picture frame like this. So we don't want them on separate lines. So we just want print. And then I'm putting the space in here so they have so it's gonna print out the first variable. So it'd be picture, and then I'll add a space to it. Then it will go to the next one and print out frame. However, there is a slight issue with this right now. On the last one, it's still gonna print out that space. Now, if it's tracking like every single thing, when if the test cases like are checking to make sure it's exactly the same output that it's expecting, this extra space is actually going to give us problems because it's technically not the output they're expecting. They want it without any spaces or any characters after this. So we don't want a space on the last word. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to need an if statement. So we need to do this statement. Check if the index that we're at, or I, is going to be equal to, if it's equal to variable split, and we're going to do dot length -1. Okay, so in this one, this is what we're checking. So we're checking to see, this is basically saying, is it in the last position? Because the reason how this checks if we're in the last position is length is the total number of objects or whatever you're storing in the array. But it starts at a 0 index. So it's going to be the total amount of items minus 1 is going to be the position for the last index in that array. So we're checking if we're at if the index is at the last position in the array, we're going to do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the exact same thing here. We're printing out the word, except we're going to take away the space. Then, to make sure it still does it if we're not in the last position, we're going to add an else statement and put this, the other printing, in the else statement. So if we're in the last position, it won't print a space at the end. If we're in any other position, we'll print a space at the end. So there will not be any extra spaces in it. And then finally, what we're going to do for this is we're not going to be, we're going to be doing multiple operations. Like, we don't want like picture, frame, if we did the next one like mobile, phone, that's what it's going to look like if we don't do anything right now. They're all going to print on the same line. So once we are done printing this out, so like after the for loop, once it's done printing out each word, we need to do a system.out.print line. And it's just going to be empty quotation marks. So we're printing nothing. So that way, once it prints this out, so like picture, let me scroll down a little bit. Picture frame, it'll move on to the next one and it'll do mobile frame. Alright? And that, sadly enough, that's only for the first operation. We still got 5 more to do. So, but fortunately, a lot of these are very similar. Now it just depends for these other two, it just depends what it is for method and a class. Alright. So now we're moving on to method. We're splitting up a method. Alright. So now I hope you can follow along, but this is literally almost the exact same thing as for splitting a variable, except there's one big difference between a variable and a method. And you probably guessed it, it's the parentheses. So our issue is this would work almost, but if we were doing plastic cup, it would print it out like this: plastic cup parentheses. And if you can see our output, we don't want the parentheses at the end. So we need to do the exact same thing, except get rid of the parentheses at the end. And so we know the parentheses are going to be attached to the last word. So we actually already have an if statement that checks to see if we're on the last word. So we're already almost there. The one thing we have to do here is get rid of the parentheses. So this is what I propose we do. We just go in here to where we're in the last position. I'm just going to make a new variable, and we're going to say this is going to be the method with no parentheses. And this is, so it's in these two the parentheses are in the last two. So we'd have cup like this, right? They're in the last two indexes of this string. So if we just got rid of those last two indexes, we would be good. So that's why I'm going to make a new string from our current string, right? We're going to do, you know what? This also bothers me. I changed this to be method split just so I wouldn't get myself confused with the other variables, so I can tell the difference. So now I just changed them all from variable split names to method split. Anyways, so we're in method, so we're setting this to method split, and it's going to be the current word we're on, or string, and we're going to do so it's going to be substring 0 to method split one I dot length. I know this is confusing. Let me just write it out first, and then I'll explain it afterwards. Okay. Now, what does this do? All right. So we got our method split right. Now, if you remember correctly, we're on the last word. So say we're on cup. This is what it would have. Cup with the 2 parentheses on the end. So, whatever you want to call it. So, we're on this word. We need to get rid of this. So, we're going to set this variable to the substring, which substring gets a part of the word, and based off the index, the beginning index you give it, and the end index you give it. So we're starting at the first index, which would be this capital C, and we're gonna get the length of the string, so the total number of letters in the string. So it would have 5, and we're gonna subtract 2 from it. So it would be 3, index 3 for the ending one, ending index. So, and you're thinking, well, if you know this, it starts at index 0. So C's would be index 0, U would be index 1, and P would be index 2. And 3 would be the index of the opening parenthesis. So you're thinking, so is it including that opening? No, because the ending index in this method is not inclusive, so it does not include that one. So only include cup. So this gives us, if it was cup, it would only give us cup, like that. So now, all we have to do now is, we have the cup with the uppercase C. We just need to change this in here to be method no parentheses. So now it just prints this out. Just prints out cup with lowercase if it was cup. Right, and that's it. That's it for the method one. Alright, so now this is the same algorithm that we need for class. But as you may have guessed, it's going to be slightly different because it's a class, and the first letter of the first word is also capitalized, unlike the other ones where they're not capital. So we need a lowercase the first word. Alright? And there's going to be another issue that we're going to come across. But let me first change this to class split, and I'm just going to change all the method splits the class split so it's easy to follow. And we're not going to need this method, no parentheses, because there's no parentheses in this one. All right. So yeah, I just got rid of everything that had to do with the method and getting out the parentheses. So now it's basically like the variable one. All right. So how do we handle class? All right. So this is what we're going to do. So the big issue is this almost works, except the splitting is going to mess us up. Because if you think about it now, our first word has a capital letter. So it's going to see, like, if it was this input right here, large software book, it's going to split this word. Let's write it right below here. If we did it exactly like this, it's going to split this into L soft or sorry arg soft and software. Sorry, just blanked out for a second. Software book, something like that, because it's gonna split up everywhere it sees. Um, I think it's this, or I can't remember if it's like this with like space in the beginning or something weird like that. So either way, it's gonna split this incorrectly because it's gonna split it up based off the capitals, which are first letters of capital. So how do we do this so they'll all still be together? Like we need this to be large. Sorry, large software book. How do we get it to be like that? All right. All there's only one slight little change we need to do, actually. So if I remember correctly, it's actually an extra space in the beginning, but this is all I had to change. So I'm gonna add an or statement to this if. So there's gonna be two conditions that this could be true, and I'm gonna set it I equal to 0. Now it's gonna check if we're in the first position or we're in the last position. So I can't recall now. Anyways, but so it's gonna be that if we're in the first position, right? Normally we just print a space afterwards. However, we're not going to print a space afterwards. So, like, say it came as large, like that. If it goes through, prints the L, then prints out arch, we're not going to print the space afterwards for the first one now. So now we're just printing it right afterwards. So it would combine the two essentially, and we wouldn't have that issue. So now it works. It doesn't. That's it. As long as that takes care of that little issue we had, and that's it for class splitting. All right, bear with me. This one's difficult and long. I know. We are in the combining algorithm now. So we gotta do the exact same thing we did before. Or sorry, not the exact same thing. The opposite of what we did before. Instead of splitting them up, we have to combine them now. All right. So we're going to be combining variables. So let's look at an example here. So our input is going to be equal to, so combine variable mobile phone. I need some water. All right. So, and then the out is going to be mobile phone. It's going to turn into a variable, right? So basically, we get this, right? Mobile phone. Now, the thing is, we're not, see what it's separated by? It's separated by space this time. So it's actually easier getting, we need to split it again so we can get each word and combine them together. So now what we can do is we're just going to split this again. So we're going to do string variable split equals split string the third position for the variable, and we're going to do split space. If you remember, split string is this whole thing. So it has, like, say we're in here, we're in, this is the 0 index, first index, second index. A split string will have mobile phone. So we're going to split mobile phone by the space. And we're going to say store it into another array called variable split, where it will have mobile in the first index and phone in the second index. So now we got mobile phone. So now we just have to print all these out. And uppercase, the thing is we're combining these. So we need uppercase, and it's a variable. So we need uppercase every first letter of each word after the first word. If that makes sense. So before it, I, 0, I, less than variable split dot length. Sorry. And here's the thing. If it is in the first position, right? We're not changing anything. So we're just gonna do system dot out dot print. We're gonna do variable split first position. That's it. We don't have to do anything else, right? Because we got the first word. It's already lowercase. So that's what we want. So we're just gonna print it out. Now the else for every other word. How we need to uppercase first letter of each word. So how are we gonna do this? Well, the way I do this, we're gonna do capital. We're gonna make a new variable. And we're gonna call it capital string. We're gonna set it equal to variable split I dot substring. And set from 0 to 1, and we're gonna set to upper case. All right. What did I just do? So, oh, I just hit my foot. Sorry. We need, what I just did is I got the word we're currently on, and then I did substring, and we're gonna do a substring from 0 to 1. So we're gonna get every letter from position 0 to index 1. What does that do? Well, it's not inclusive for the end index, so it's not going to get 2 letters. It's not going to get the first 2 letters. It's going to get the first letter. So if this happened to be mobile phone, it would get M. So now this substring right here has our first letter. And it returns a string, right? And string has the method to uppercase, which will uppercase each letter in the string. Well, there's only one letter, so it's only going to uppercase the M, which we want. Or not, sorry, not M. It'd be phone. We don't want M because we're going to be on the second word. So we're going to be uppercasing the letter P to get it like that. But we only have the P right here, right? We need the rest of the word. So we're going to add that to our capital string variable. We're going to do variable split. And it's going to be the same thing. We're going to do sub string 1. That's simple. Because for substring, if I only put one number in it, it's going to get the string substring of the string at the first from the first index until it gets to the end. So it gets from the first index of the string and gets the rest of the string. So what I'm doing is I'm skipping the first letter. So if this was phone, I'm skipping P and I'm only gonna get HONEN. HONE. So that's what I want because I'm going to add it to the capital P I just got. So now it will be phone. So now capital string has our whole word that we need with the capital letter we want. So, sorry, that's not what we want. You want system. All that's left is to print it out. It's literally just capital system.out print capital string. Yep, and now if we had phone, it would print out phone like this. And then that's it. That's literally it. And it'll just keep doing that. And since we're checking to make sure we're not on the first position and we don't capitalize it, so it won't capitalize mobile, but it capitalizes every word afterwards, or every word's first letter afterwards, we get our variables. And that's it. The last thing we need to do for this one is do a system.out.println. So the next one will be on the next line. So you don't want to put them all on the same line. Okay. So now for the next one, which is we're gonna be doing. We're combining words to make a method. So let's do our same thing here. So our example, input is gonna equal. Let me scroll up a little bit. So we're in the combining one. So it's gonna be C. We're in methods. It's gonna be M. Now what's the example they give us? So it's gonna be white sheet of paper. That's what they give us. Then the output is we want is white sheet of paper. Sorry, that went out to the next line. Let me just tab the next line. We'll have it over here. There. You get the idea. So that's what it's going to look like. Right? So we combine all these words. Uppercase, every letter, every first letter after the first word for the first letter. And then we need to add the parentheses at the end. All right? I'll put this over here. Easier to read. All right. So first we need to, again, split this up. So we essentially need to do everything we did for variable except this one small difference again this time. Let me call this method split just to keep things similar. No confusion here. Alright, so I copied the variable. Basically the same thing for variable, right? We gotta split everything by the spaces, right? So we get white sheet of paper in each of the things, each of the positions in method split. We loop through, we don't capitalize the first letter of the first word, but we capitalize every other word and we print them out. Well, there's one last thing we need to do. That's add the parentheses at the end. So we need to check. We need one more if statement in here, actually. We're going to do it. We're going to add in else if. Right? Because we're going to do if I equals method split delete -1. So we're in the last position. Right, adding this else if between them. We need to do the same thing, right? I guess you wouldn't have to do it like this. Honestly. You know what? This just makes it more confusing for you guys. I just thought of a better way of doing this without having to make an else if statement in the middle. So we're gonna make one down here. I equals method split dot length. I don't know where I'm going. -1. So we're in the last position, right? We already printed out everything. So at this point, we're on the last string, right? Or last word. We got paper. This would be our last word, right? So once we're there, right? We already printed out paper. We need to add some parentheses at the end. So why not say when we're in the last position, we're going to do system.out.print. Do that. And print parentheses at the end. That's it. So when we're in the last index, and we already printed out every other word, we already printed out paper, So it already looks like this. We just need to add the print. See, we already looped through everything and printed out paper exactly like we need to. We just need to add the parentheses. That's what we do right there. That's it. That's it for method. Alright. And the final stretch, boys. The combining class. Alright. So let's do this one more time. So our input is equal to, it's going to be combine class, so CC. And what's the one they give us? Coffee machine. That's our input. And then for output, we need to do coffee machine. Alright. Now, it is essentially the same thing as variable, with one key difference. You might notice, see, same thing as this, except we have a capital in the beginning. So this is what I propose we do. We copy our same method or algorithm for a variable, put it in class. I'm going to call this class just so it's all similar, right? Class split, class split, class split, class split. Alright. Now here's the kicker here. So this would say we left this how it is. This is what we're gonna get. So if we put in coffee machine, we would get coffee machine. Now it's almost right, except our C is not capitalized. So how do we fix that? Well, here's the deal. We can do this actually fairly easy. We just need to do the exact same thing we did for oh, you know what? I just noticed I may have missed. Oh wait, no, we're combining these, so there is no spaces. Duh. I'm thinking I had to add a space somewhere. Anyways, we just need to do this. We're gonna delete this whole if else statement. Get rid of it, everything. Sure you get all the curly braces too, so it doesn't cause an error. So we got rid of the whole if else statement in there, and we just left what was an else because we don't need to check the initial index. All we need to do is get our we already split it, right? So we already got everything separated. So we got coffee machine. We just gotta make the capital string out of it by getting the first letter of the word, uppercasing it, and then adding the rest of the word. So we get capitalized C, and then add the OFFEE. And then we got coffee like that. Then it prints out coffee, and then we go through again, and then do the same thing for machine, and then it will be done. That's it. That's all we need to do. Now I think I'm ready to run it. That's literally everything. We've done everything. I know it's a like mess of code, but we ran through it all. I'm gonna be really amazed if there's no errors in this. And of course there is an error. Alright, now I'll teach you some debugging here. So, solution. So, line 59, can't find symbol, capital string. Alright, 59. So, line 59, it can't find capital string. Capital string. Which is actually kind of weird. Why does it think these are two different ones? Where did I screw up here? Let me look at this a little bit closer. Cannot find capital string. Alright. Oh, we got string, right? Capital string. Let's make sure I didn't misspell it at all. Did I misspell it and I just can't tell? C-A-P-T. Oh, I see. Gosh darn. I put C-A-P-T-I, and this one I put C-A-P-I-T. Yep, just spelling. So I just need to fix my spelling so they're the same. And that was the only errors it had. Let's run it again, make sure I got all of them. I think there's one more. So at line 84, yep, that's what happens when you copy and paste code too. You'll copy and paste errors too if there's a line and an issue in that line. Hooray! Congratulations. Alright, we did it, right? See, it takes our input, and so this one split variable. So it splits it, lower cases, each word. Yep. And then combine methods. So it's combine mousepad to like this. So it'd be mousepad with capital P, parentheses at the end. So yeah, it did it for each one. So now we ran it. So let's submit our code, make sure it passes all the cases it's got. And congratulations, we did it. We passed each test case. Hooray. We're finally done with this one. I know this one is way more confusing and a lot more tedious than the others, but we did it, right? That's why I make these videos, to try and help other people that are struggling, like myself, with coding these types of problems. Well, guys, that was it. If you're actually still here, I commend you because that was over an hour long, and I cannot believe that it took that long. It didn't feel like that to me, but I hope it was helpful to someone out there. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please follow me so you can see my upcoming videos and hopefully some newer, different content coming out as well. Just kind of difficult with school and work going on at the same time. But anyways, that's all I got for you today. Colonel Tommy out.